So today I am out of the funk that I referred to in one of my previous videos, and so I wanted to share how I arrived at this point. And it's not exactly a process. Well, it is in the sense that all I keep doing is just keep digging. Like, why is it that I'm feeling like that? And then I come up with answers, and I watch for my reactions to those answers. So if I'm happy with the answer, I'll double check, because that can often mean I found a nice neat excuse that makes me happy, because it's like, yeah, I don't have to do all the hard work, I don't have to feel all the difficult feelings. So but sometimes so what I mean is, like, I don't let that pass. I don't let that be just, yeah, I'm good. No, like I say, I still dig around and dig beneath that. And by now I already kind of know the flavor of that happy kind of feeling, whether it's an excuse and escapism, or it's actually a relief, or like like that kind of. So for me, if it's a yes, that it's like it's like a relief, like you finally feel like you arrived at something, and that's the happiness, not how and what made you arrived. So it could be in an unpleasant sentence, but you just feel like, oh yes, that's it, that's what it is. Or it could be an easy sentence to hear or to experience or to feel, but still you have that sense of relief. That to me is a pretty sure sign that you arrived at the clearing. So you cleared all the debris, you know, what's the dusty, musty stuff from the attic and, from the basement, and cleaned up all the dirt or whatever, so it's a clearing where you're free from whatever was holding you back, however small. So that's the process. But I use different tools, and obviously, sorry, so that's the other part, is if I'm really angry. So I come up to arrive at an answer in this process of, so what's going on here, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling, and then, like I say, I have an answer, and then the answer makes me angry, or it makes me happy, and I explain what I do when it makes me happy. But when it makes me angry or hurt, or just that feeling of just like I stepped on a wound, and I just like, it's the ouch, and then it's like, oh, it's just, your instinct is to turn away, to run as far away from it, because even in the vicinity of it, you don't even have to step on it. Just being in the vicinity of it, breathing onto it, just think of the actual wound, right? When it's infested and infected and all that, you can sometimes literally, I know certainly it could, you can breathe next to it and you still feel that, like, that, I don't know what the word is, the soreness, I suppose, when you have that sensitivity. Anyway, so if I can be experiencing that, like I stepped on something and it's just like, and then you run away because you don't want anywhere near it. So yeah, that's kind of more obvious signs that that's where I need to, dig deeper and go further and not run away. But that's never a straightforward process. I do run away and I stay away from it until I muster the courage, the strength, the stomach to go back there. And so I do, and then then I'm readier to see what I couldn't see to begin with, and eventually I again arrive at a clearing. So in both those instances you get to the same destination, which is the clearing. You want to be clear and clean and free of whatever was keeping you in not a good place. Let's put it as vaguely and as generically as that. But the tools, so that's the process. But the tools are also well, so I talk out loud. I mean, I luckily have no one around, or hardly ever, and my partner by now is accustomed to it, doesn't really pay attention. And it's not like I talk out loud in his presence about my internal dialogues, no. But he catches me sometimes. I'm kind of sort of semi-whispering. And I've been doing this since age 10, and I'll talk about that in another video. But anyway, so I either do that, kind of talk it out loud with myself, and going for long walks is usually good in the woods where you will not see many people, so you're not. And nowadays, I suppose people assume you might be on the phone and you have a Bluetooth somewhere hidden behind your ear or something. So yeah, so you can try that. But even so what if they see you? I mean, it's not the end of the world. Anyway, so choose maybe spot like that, or even better, like I sometimes talk out loud in front of a mirror, or just fixate something in just on the wall or any, just kind of have a fixed point. It helps me, I don't know why, but I like to have a point of where is this person, and even though it's me, and often it's not always me, sometimes I'm kind of bashing it out with someone else, it is always about me, obviously, and very much so, but I have to kind of iron things out with this one person, for instance. So I imagine them, it's not like I even imagine them physically or anything, I just literally kind of fixate on a spot on the wall or something like a coffee cup or something, and then I talk to as if it was that person out loud. That's important, to hear yourself speak. And then and yeah, so that, or in the mirror, if you know it's just with yourself, even if it with the other person, just looking at yourself, just observing yourself with your expressions as you speak also helps. Or journaling, and that has been mostly of late. By of late, I mean last at least a decade, but I still do the other stuff often enough to make it into this list of my tools. But yeah, so journaling or morning pages I've done in the past, I started doing again. It's kind of essentially just reminding me that my journals are, I don't censor myself in my journals. And when I do, I also know, and so it's kind of like, yeah. The only thing with morning pages is that you can rip them apart. At least that's how I used to do them. And I did it, and I think that's important, particularly because it's just like dumping stuff. Where in a journal, I'm trying to make sense of it. So I'm not literally stream of consciousness, but I'm trying to make sense of things. So I'm thinking, and then I'm writing, and then I'm concluding and analyzing and all that stuff. So it's a different process, but. Anyway, so either morning pages, where you kind of really dump everything, not censoring yourself, for at least 3 pages, and that is either A5 or A4 size. And you'll see, I mean, it could be days when nothing's coming, and then it will just come. Something will surface, and you'll have a eureka moment. And then I go to the journal, and then I kind of elaborate on that there, because I want to get rid of those pages, but I don't want to lose the gems of insights that I had. And then yeah, so journal, like I say, and I use astrology very much to kind of, not to guide me. It doesn't come first. I come first with my experience, and then I sometimes straight away look at the astrology, and sometimes just a bit later, or even like an afterthought, like a day after or something. And then but mostly kind of simultaneously, almost immediately, as I start journaling, because I kind of want to know what energies I'm working with, and then I'll be kind of going down that avenue. So for instance, if there is a big Pluto activity in the skies, I will, but if you don't know astrology, that's just whatever, but then I'll be exploring sort of the trust issues, the intimacy, the power, the money, the sharing of resources, the change, transformation, control issues, and all the rest. So I know kind of I would follow that, because that's what's energetically surrounding me and everyone else, but it's me who's journaling, so I'll be going along. It helps me. I think I'm tapping into what's already there, and I find that really helpful. And yeah, so I was doing this with, as like I say, always, and when this recent funk, and I arrived at this conclusion. When did I arrive? This morning. Was it this morning or was it last night? No, it was this morning, actually. And yeah, it was, but it's kind of like, and you'll find this most likely, I'm sure, is that it's essentially always an affirmation, a confirmation of what you already knew. You just either didn't have that kind of seal of approval, permission, or didn't feel like you had one. You assume you need one, and we all do, I certainly do. And then, so you didn't have that, and then when you see it, like, well, for me, it was astrology again, helped me tremendously. And and again, I highly recommend it. But yeah, so it's either, like I say, something like that, but also like your own epiphany. But astrology is good in a way that it helps you kind of externally validate. That's kind of where it comes, what it does for me, and why I use it, and why I find it really helpful. That it's almost like that's what's already happening. That's what's happening out there. It's happening. I'm not, I'm not necessarily, I'm not making it up, or I'm not creating it out of nothing. It's there, and I've just seen it at that this morning. Let's say I've seen that, and I was like, and then everything I was talking about to myself or in my journal, I all of a sudden just kind of became illuminated, like just came forward, like in art medium, relief, I think it's called in English, when you have like a 3D painting almost. So it's like, yeah, so I suppose there are paintings nowadays that can be considered with that. So there is like stuff, there's a surface, two-dimensional surface, but there is stuff coming out of the canvas. That's a relief. That's at least when I used to study history of art, that's what we called it, although we were looking at very different examples then. But so yeah, so at this point it's like you just all of a sudden connecting what's going on in the skies for me, as I'm an astrologer and also live astrologically, but everything I was already saying without even knowing the astrology all of a sudden came forth with this astrological seal of approval. So it's almost like there was a dross, there was excess, there was waffle in my pages, in my journal, in my talk, and with this event that I recognized, it just came forth, and it's like the rest just fell off. So I was left with the bones, let's say, like if you're thinking of a cooked meat that it's so well cooked. By then I have well cooked my problem and everything I looked at it with, and then with this final piece of like seal of approval, it just everything fell off. That was not part of it or not attached to it. It wasn't it, and I was left with this, beautiful bone, and all the meat fell off. And yeah, I feel great. And because that's been happening for, well, for me, really for like a week or 10 days. 10 days, let's say today, maybe even 2 weeks, which actually would fall around, yeah, I didn't that just now clock that. Yeah. So my point is, this is also how these are those regular troughs in my cycle, at least, not menstrual cycle, actual life cycle, in my motivation, in my energies, in my journey, of evolution, right? Soul evolution. I go through those peaks and troughs, and it's regular, and it keeps coming. I keep going up, and then I'm coming down, and I'm going up, and it happens, I don't know, I don't think it's monthly. Oh well, that could be in fact, yeah, probably even monthly. And sometimes those periods are a bit longer, sometimes they're just a few days, sometimes they're a couple of weeks, like this one, let's say, maybe it was a bit less anyway. And then you have like 2 years of heavy duty dark night of the soul, which I've just, yeah, came out a few years ago. So there may be one coming, I'm sure, one day again, but I wouldn't think, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. But these are the little troughs that this is how I deal with, and you may find it helpful.